Welcome to Work Made Easy, where we explore the transformative power of simplicity in driving positive action and unlocking your fullest potential.
Hello friends, welcome back to another episode of Work Made Easy, where we dive deep into the evolving world of work. I'm your host Parthajeet, and today we have a special treat for you. Recently, we had a launch of our book called Work Made Easy that I co-authored with John Hoffmeyer and Raj Krishnamurthy. During the launch, Ravi Venkatesan, the ex-Chairperson of Microsoft India, delivered a keynote speech that was incredibly insightful, and I'm delighted to share it with you and go through the learnings. So let's dive right in.
First of all, good evening, friends. It's a delight to be here at beautiful BIC and to talk about an important book on an important topic, which is the future of work. It turns out that work is one of the central issues in most of our lives, and it's central to our happiness and well-being. I recall President Roosevelt famously saying, "Happiness lies not in the mere possession of money, it lies in the joy of achievement and the thrill of creative effort."
Now, that's the truth, isn't it? We spend so much time at work that it's almost like our second home. Ravi's point resonates deeply with me, especially in today's world where job satisfaction and personal fulfillment are becoming increasingly important. Now, think about it. How often have you introduced yourself by mentioning your job title? Like, for example, "Hey, I'm John. I work with XYZ company." It's practically our opening line.
So basically, work is a central aspect, and good work provides not just money and income, but also opportunities for learning, opportunities for accomplishment, for recognition and advancement, for belonging. Some of our closest friends are often those we met at work, and centrally, identity. Very often when we introduce ourselves to a stranger, you quickly talk about where you work, or this is what I do, or something of that sort. So identity is also wrapped up in work. And so the experience of good work, good jobs is very important for satisfaction and well-being. And unfortunately, like everything else around us, this is being disrupted. And it's being profoundly reshaped by technology, of course, but also demographics, by macroeconomic developments, and societal values. So today I wanted to talk about 4 major trends, 2-3 of which are covered in the book, which are under this umbrella of the future of work.
By the way, if you'd like to get your hands on the book Work Made Easy, you can find it on Amazon. I'd love to hear your feedback on it. All right, back to Ravi.
The biggest shift to my mind, which is going to affect every one of us in this room if it hasn't already, is the shift away from employment towards gig work, freelancing, entrepreneurship, basically self-employment. For my generation, for most of my friends, my parents' generation, we coveted a stable job that led to a stable career. In fact, in my book, I've talked about a lot of people I know, they enter a tunnel and they emerge from it 37 years later. Okay, that's not going to happen. This is going to be relevant for a vanishingly small number of people. So stable jobs, stable careers are an artifact of the 20th century. There are many reasons for this. One of the many reasons is supply and demand. Right now, for instance, I just wrote a piece which pointed out that this year, 35% of all IITians who graduated are still looking for a job. And the well-disguised fact is 20% of IIM graduates are also still looking for a job. And a young person with a college degree, any kind of college degree, commerce, BA, BSc, IIT, whatever, is 9 times as likely to be unemployed as somebody who's illiterate. So this is kind of shocking because for all of us, education, higher education really was the ticket to advancement. And that is breaking down, and it's largely because of supply-demand asymmetries. The second thing that's happening is the companies are experiencing much more turbulence. And as a result, they are looking for more flexible work arrangements. And Priya will know all about this. And they've become much more transactional. So I talk about everybody playing a game of musical chairs. So you can be this great engineer in Google or wherever, Reliance, it doesn't matter. And you could be doing well. And lo and behold, one morning, the music stops and you don't have a chair. And this could happen for a variety of reasons. The company has a layoff, or they decide to shut down this project, or they reorganize, or you end up with a new manager who simply doesn't like you. So there are many, many reasons why the music can stop. And once the music stops, it's becoming quite hard to find another game of musical chairs. And this becomes harder, especially as you get older. Once you're on the wrong side of, say, 40 or 45, there is a certain age bias that creeps in. So basically what I say is, look, sooner rather than later, every one of us has to start thinking about being self-employed in some way, or better yet, becoming an entrepreneur of some sort. So this is one big shift in the what's called the future of work.
The gig economy. It's kind of like professional speed dating. One day you're a graphic designer, the next day you're delivering food, and by the weekend you're moonlighting as an, online tutor probably. It's a wild ride, but it's also a reality check. The gig economy is booming and traditional career paths are becoming less common. On the plus side, this new model offers flexibility. Imagine working in your pajamas, just remember to change them before any video calls, or turning your hobby into a side hustle. But let's not kid ourselves, it also comes with its own set of challenges. Job insecurity and lack of benefits, I think, are huge concerns. So what's the game plan? Think of it like being a Swiss Army knife. Build diverse skills and be adaptable. And remember, I think in this new world, it's all about staying ahead of the curve. Maybe consider a side gig as a fortune teller, because predicting trends might just become the hottest new job. Next, Ravi touches on the rise of remote and hybrid work, accelerated by the COVID-19 pandemic, and this trend has fundamentally changed the way we work.
The second big one, of course, is the trend that's called out by Partha and his co-authors, which is this trend towards remote work and hybrid work. And of course, COVID was the Y2K moment for this shift, and enabled by all the technologies that every one of us is very familiar with. But of course, we thought it was going to be temporary. We thought that maybe after COVID, things may go back slowly to the old way. But employees have tasted flexibility and freedom, and they don't want to go back. And they're resisting this call to be back in the office 3 days or forget 5 days a week. And every employer around the world is having this challenge. Last year I was in Seattle about August, and a very famous unnamed employer, the CEO, was saying, it's not Microsoft, but he was saying, look, it's becoming so, we have a requirement to be back in the office 3 days a week. And we've even sort of got incentives, like we've hired a Michelin-starred chef in our cafeteria to cook these beautiful meals. And he says our compliance is 20% to 3 days, because employees get up in the morning, they check what's on the menu, and is it worth coming to work for this meal? So this is a big challenge for everyone. And although in the short term, it looks like, oh, you can do just as well with remote and hybrid work. And I mean, there's studies that show productivity is okay and all that. I still have my doubts. And the doubts are around 4 or 5 issues. One is, we don't know how to measure the productivity of information work, unlike, more service-oriented jobs. Number 2, how do you build cohesion if everybody is dispersed and distributed? Okay, how do you build a culture? How do you create commitment, not mercenaries? Okay, so these questions are still wide open. And so lots of challenges that Partha and Priya will perhaps talk about.
Remote work, where the commute is a blissful 10-second walk from your bed to the desk. It's a dream, right? But let's be honest, it's not all sunshine and pajamas. Ravi's points about the challenges are spot on. For one, measuring productivity can be tricky. Sure, you can track keystrokes and log hours, but how do you measure the creative spark that hits you while you're making a sandwich, maybe? Then there's a question of cohesion. Virtual happy hours can only do so much. They're fun, but they do not replace the hallway chats or the bonding over a shared frustration with the office printer, or maybe over your boss. Now, building a culture in a remote environment is like trying to bake a cake without a recipe. It's doable, but you just might end up with something that looks more like a pancake. Companies need to get creative. Maybe it's time for virtual team building exercises or maybe regular in-person meetups. Now, let's not forget the Michelin-starred chef story. Talk about setting the bar high. If the promise of excellent meals cannot lure people back to the office, the hybrid work revolution is here to stay. So enjoy the freedom, but remember, with great power over your own schedule comes great responsibility to actually get stuff done. Ravi also discusses how attitudes towards work are changing, particularly among younger workers who value work-life balance and a positive work environment.
The authors in this book also talk to one more big shift, which is the attitudes towards work and what is important. Many workers, particularly young people, they value other things. They value work-life balance, they value flexibility, they value what is this culture like, not merely money and opportunities for advancement. Okay, so that's posing an interesting challenge for traditional managers all over the world. And I like, Partha, how you pointed out that they also value the full experience of work, which includes what is this office space like? Does this place have a vibe to it or not? Okay, what is the cafeteria like? What is the IT infrastructure of this place like? Is it contemporary or still a lot of manual form filling and so forth? I think you point out very nicely that loyalty cuts two ways. So, of course, employers are being way more transactional, and therefore employees are also less loyal and not very likely to be thinking about a long-term career with the firm. So again, this old compact is breaking down.
Gen Z. They've really turned the workplace upside down, haven't they? They want work-life balance, flexibility, and a positive work environment. It's like they're saying, we want it all and we want it now. But can you really blame them? They have seen the effects of burnout and want to avoid it. Simple. They're looking for jobs that don't just pay the bills, but also feed the soul. Office vibe, stuff like cafeteria quality and the overall culture have become deciding factors for them. And gone are the days when a corner office and a hefty paycheck were enough to keep employees satisfied. So it's all about whether the office has a foosball table, a quiet meditation room, and maybe even an app pod. Now, for traditional managers, this shift can be quite unnerving. Or if you look at it differently, it's actually an opportunity. Embracing these changes can lead to a more motivated, creative, and loyal workforce. So the next time you think about employee perks, remember, it's not just about the bottom line. It's about creating a place where people love to work. And hey, if you're a manager wondering how to attract top talent, maybe start with the small stuff. Good coffee, maybe? A welcoming environment and a supportive culture can go a long way. Who knows? You just might enjoy the new office vibe yourself. Ravi also addressed the impact of AI on the future of work. Let's listen in.
And if all this were not big enough and challenging enough, here comes AI. And of course, every day if you just read anything, you've got some famous person making a bold prophecy about how many jobs it's going to destroy. Like Sam Altman says, somebody asks him, can you think of any jobs in the future? And he thinks for about a minute and says, no. Okay. And then you have somebody else who'll make the exact opposite statement, i.e., there's no consensus yet on the rate at which AI will be deployed across industries and organizations and the eventual magnitude. However, we can make two or three safe statements. First is, it'll create lots of jobs, it'll destroy many, many jobs, but it's going to certainly change every job. Okay, that's a bit of a no-brainer. I think the other bit of a no-brainer is, AI isn't going to replace you. Another person using AI is going to replace you. So, like that famous joke about the two guys were being chased by a bear and he pauses to tie his shoes. He says, I don't have to outrun the bear, I have to just outrun you. Okay. So you have to, be amongst the early adopters of these technologies. So that's an obvious one. And sooner or later, your manager is going to use AI to cut the team, cut costs, and try and get more out of fewer people. Okay. And, in some industries and some roles, that's going to happen faster. But if you're working for a boss who's always looking to trim costs and people, watch out. It's going to happen to you. And again, don't wait for the employer to roll out learning programs. Learn to get going on your own. So overall, I think this is a very interesting but also difficult and challenging time, both for people as employees as well as for employers. And this is where I think this book comes at a very, very important time and introduces many useful ideas.
Well, the truth is AI is going to shake things up. And in the workplace, you don't really have to be the best at everything. Just better than the person next to you in adopting AI tools. Stay ahead of the game and you'll keep your seat when the music stops.
I did read the book cover to cover on the long train ride from Chennai 3-4 days ago. And I wanted to call out at least my takeaways. The first is, I like, Partha, the emphasis on, if you're an employer, if you're HR or whatever, don't do these reactive, piecemeal, band-aid kind of interventions, okay? They say, look, you need to think about the employee experience in a completely holistic manner and design that very intentionally using approaches like design thinking. I like that because most people are just doing reactive little band-aids. The second thing which I like is increasingly they point out, if you want to create this seamless experience for people, HR, IT, and the facilities manager have to work completely hand in glove, perhaps even reporting into a single person. The big shift today is this emphasis on mental health, well-being, work-life balance. And for much of my professional life, nobody cared about it. Okay, you simply did whatever you needed to do to survive and advance. And I probably, as a manager, was also somewhat guilty of that. But today, you can't do that. Okay, you have to intentionally design this. You have to intentionally design the learning experience as well, which is a big component of it. And finally, I think you call out nicely the emphasis, the importance of change management. Yeah, so the reality is trust in organizations is generally on the lower side. And when employees don't trust the organization to do the right thing by them, they're going to be naturally suspicious of any change and distrustful and resisting. We saw this with the farmer protests. They don't trust anybody, with good reason. And I think, by and large, our organizations have also earned this reputation for not really caring about employees. So this emphasis on change management, I think, is pretty good. Look, overall, I think this is a timely book that hits the mark, which is why I was very happy to be invited. My congratulations to you, your co-authors, and publisher Westler.
Trust is like the foundation of a house. Without it, everything else crumbles. In many organizations, trust levels are low, and it's no wonder. Employees have seen enough broken promises and sudden changes to make them wary. It's like being in a relationship where you've been stood up too many times, and when the big change comes around, suspicion and resistance are the natural responses. Effective change management isn't just about making changes, it's about rebuilding trust. Communicate clearly, listen actively, and show that you really care. It's like patching up that leaky roof before the storm hits. Get it right, and your organization can weather any change, any storm. And get it wrong, and you're left with a soggy mess. And there you have it, folks. Ravi's insightful keynote on the future of work that he delivered when Work Made Easy was launched. If you want a copy of the book Work Made Easy, Look it up on Amazon. It's available across all geographies. I hope Ravi's insights have given you food for thought. And as we navigate the future of work, let's remember to adapt, stay flexible, and maybe, just maybe, enjoy the ride. Until next time, stay curious and keep making work easy.
Work made easy. The transformative power of simplicity in driving positive action and unlocking your fullest potential.